Dear students, welcome to this lecture on atomic transactions. And we have already discussed about what is meant by atomic transactions and the inconsistency due to concurrent axis, and also we have discussed about the inconsistency due to the system failure and various essential properties for every transaction in our previous lecture. So now in this lecture we are going to know about operations for transaction based file service. Means what are the different operations we will use in a transaction based file service. Means all the file operations such as read and write we will have. These are the elementary file access operations, right? Whenever we want to read any file, we need to open it, read, write are the actual operations, and they should be sequenced in such a manner that they are providing the correct order of execution. So the first one, see, the three essential operations for transaction service are: first one, begin transaction, means it returns with the transaction ID, and it begins a new transaction. Whenever we want to do any transaction, it comes under this begin transaction. We have to start it, and it returns a unique transaction identifier. Whenever we do any online transactions, we will get one unique ID or transaction ID. Like that, here also it will give you a unique transaction identifier TID. So this identifier is used in other operations of this transaction. Okay. All the operations will begin with begin transaction, and they will end with end transaction. Okay. So first operation in a transaction service is begin transaction. And the second is end transaction. What it returns? It returns the status whether it is completed or aborted. Means if it is completed successfully, it will give you the committed status, or it is inactive due to any case, it will be aborted either by the client or the server. Okay, so this operation indicates that from the point of the from the viewpoint, means from the point of the client view, we will say that the transaction completed successfully. So it makes an attempt to commit the transaction. So end transaction will return in two cases, either in successful commit state or in an abort state, means the transaction is not yet completed. See here, a transaction will be aborted either on, abort means abruptly stop, is aborted. So it is either on explicit request by the client or in the event of system failures. If any client requested to stop the transaction in such a case, or during any system failures, the transaction will be aborted. For example, if we clicked on end transaction like that, or going back while payment, or refreshing the page, will all lead to the aborting the transaction. And this abort transaction also returns the transaction identifier, and it restores any changes made so far within the transaction to original values. We have discussed now in a count of X to Z transaction, we have to return the X account to his original value, and this changes its status to inactive. So in all abort transactions, we have to restore any changes made during the transaction with the original values. So here in this we will have the illustration about transaction, where all the three operations are performed successfully. At the end operation, the transaction will be like this. So in this situation, the client uses the abort operation. See here, begin transaction, write transaction ID, file position, n, comma, buffer. It returns okay, okay, okay. But here all these transactions or operations are performed successfully. So it performs the commit transaction, end transaction, TID. Now here if you observe here, all these operations could not be performed successfully. So the transaction will be aborted. TID is equal to again begin transaction, it returns okay, but here disk full error means we are unable to write to the disk. In this case it returns an abort transaction, but here we got end transaction. Okay. So this one is TREAD means it returns the client n number of bytes it is resulting from the TID. Write means the same effect with the write feature. So these are the operations performed for transaction based files. Those are begin transaction, end transaction and abort transaction. And next topic is recovery techniques. What are the different recovery techniques in order to restore it to the original state? Means, so the two phases of this transaction are, here we are beginning transaction. The two parts of the transaction means on begin transaction. The first phase is this one, begin transaction, which starts when the server receives begin transaction request from client. When client initiates the transaction, this one will be the first step. In this phase, all the file access operations will be performed and the client adds changes to the file. On execution of the transaction, there might be an end transaction or abort operation. So the first phase ends and the second phase will start. So execution of file operations will be performed. After this, it may go to end transaction in which there will be a commit state. Otherwise, there will be an abort state. So first phase and second phase means all the client changes will be made to the transaction to the file permanently. That is second phase. So these are the two phases of a transaction. And for this recovery techniques approach is here, the two commonly used approaches are file versions approach and write ahead log approach. Log means one record of the transactions. So these two common approach are used in order to maintain or in order to restore the original state. So recovery methods or recovery techniques you can think of as these two approaches, file versions approach and write ahead log approach. So in file versions approach, what we will do means in this technique it will ensure the file recoverability and it avoids overwriting the actual data to the physical storage. What it will do means it will maintain different versions of the file. It will maintain different versions of the file, and when the transaction begins, see here, when the transaction begins, the current file version is used. Current file version is VC. This is accessed by this transaction. So VC is used for all the access operations, and here after performing this, the first file update operation is approached. So in this case, it creates a new version which is called as tentative version. Tentative means for time being. Like the tentative version which is not permanent is tentative. So a tentative version will be created. If you observe here, it is VC, it is VT. So this transaction will use this tentative file for all the subsequent file operations. Means it will read from this file, it will write from this file, like that. It will take this version of the file and it either aborts if or commit. If it is aborted, then this version of the file will be the final version and it is the current version. Otherwise, if this transaction is completed successfully, then this changes, all the VT tentative version file changes are made to VC and VT becomes the new current version, right? Because the transaction is completed and VT becomes the new current version. So VC is added to the sequence of old versions. Okay, this one will be added to the old version and this one will be maintained as the current version. Okay, this is one of the recovery technique in which we are restoring. In case of abort, we are restoring the file itself. So this is the file versions technique in which we can restore it to the original state in case of abort transaction. So this is the file versions approach in which we will maintain a tentative version after completion of that particular transaction, and after commit we will do the changes to the original file. And the second technique is shadow blocks technique. So for implementing this file version, this shadow block techniques is helpful in which cases means this shadow block techniques is used as an optimization technique, and we will, without the need to copy the full file, we can copy the changes. This is some form of indexing mechanism is used here to allocate the disk space to the files. So the entire disk is partitioned into fixed blocks like this. Means each block is of some fixed size and it has some length in bytes. It is called as block. And the file maintains the index numbers 0, 0, like 15. Means there are 15 partitioned blocks. Index for file 1 is of 0, 4 and 1. Index for file 2 means file 2 parts is there in block numbers 2, 8, 6, 9 and 12. So all the list of free blocks are this one. This will not come under the list of free blocks. Already in this index numbers these files are there. So any further files can be stored in the list of these free block numbers. 0 is occupied by file 1 and 4 is occupied by file 1 and 1 is also occupied by file 1. Like that it will maintain a partitioned disk partitioned into different blocks. See here we will have the current index for the file f1 is this one, and the tentative index it is giving as 5. If it is aborted, the 5 will not be added to the index of the file f1. If it is committed, the index number 5 is added to the current file. Okay, now it will be eliminated from the list of free blocks. But here if the transaction is aborted, here it is showing 5 as the free block, but here after committing the transaction on file f1 it is not there, means 5 is added to the index of file f1. Like this we will maintain the index blocks, and here we are not copying the whole content. Okay, just we will have the modifications. Instead of copying the entire file for each transaction, what we have did in file version is copying the entire file. But here it might be wasteful and it is somewhat prohibitive when there are large files. So this shadow technique will allow optimization, means it gives optimum results and it allows the tentative creation version of a file without the need to copy the full file. This point is important. Without copying the entire file, it gives the chance to update. And the second approach in recovery techniques, the first one we have seen is this one. In recovery techniques, we have two approaches, that is file versions approach and write ahead log approach. In the file versions approach only, we have seen the shadow block method for implementing the file versions. And here the second method is write ahead log approach. So in this technique, for recording or for updating any updates in the recoverable manner, it is the write ahead log approach. What we will do in this method means, for each operation of a transaction that modifies a file, a record is first created. See, I did any modification to that file, one record is created and it is written to a log. It is nothing but a record. So you will write a log in register log. At what time you have entered, at what time you left, like that. It will return to a log file known as write ahead log. So after this operation of updation, it is performed on the file to modify its contents. So it is maintained, this log file is maintained on a stable storage and it contains a record for each operation performed by the user or any transaction. So all those record changes will be made to files. Okay, each record contains the identifier of the transaction, which is going to make the modifications, and what are the old values and new values of each item modified also noted in write ahead log file. So when the transaction commits, a commit record is written to write ahead log. See via example. This is an example where we are reading the balance of X from X account and read the balance of Z account X minus 5. Here we are debiting the X account. So it will be 95 and Z plus 5. So log. Here we are maintaining one log. Here we are maintaining the second record in the same log itself. After end of the transaction, it will be writing to the files. The next concept in atomic transactions is concurrency control. The previous one is recovery control, recovery techniques, and here we will see the concurrency control. Uh, in computers, we can say that the concurrency control means in transactions or in execution of concurrent transactions, we have to take care about the correct results. Means this concurrency control will help to ensure the correct results. Okay, why? Because multi-processors will be there and in computing databases need to ensure with the correct results. So while executing multiple transactions concurrently, we need to take care of this approach. Okay, so concurrency control should be taken care in these approaches. So the first one is log-based protocols, means how to control the concurrency of transactions. It helps to manage the simultaneous execution of process without conflicts. Okay, if there are conflicts, we have seen previously in concurrent transactions with conflicts, but this concurrency control will help to manage different transactions which are executing concurrently without conflicts. Okay, we can execute the transactions without conflicts, even they are running at the same time. That is concurrency control. And the first technique we to implement this concurrency control is log-based protocols. So basically in DBMS, this mechanism is used in which the transaction cannot read or write until it acquires appropriate lock. This one we have discussed during the mutual exclusion. This the process can execute any operation after getting the lock itself. So lock is any data variable which is associated with the data item. This lock will signify the number of operations that can be performed on a particular data item. Okay. So one of the approach to concurrent to maintain concurrency control is lock based approach. And the next thing is using two-phase locking protocol. So in this, locking is an operation which will secure, right? Permission to read or permission to write the data item is to data item in two-phase locking will be used to gain ownership on that particular resource. So we will have this shared locks, exclusive lock, and reclaiming lock. Like that, number of lock based protocols are there, and the suitable one will be used in the distributed systems. So transactions will proceed only once the lock request is granted. And in two-phase locking, it is known as 2PL protocol, and in this method we can achieve the concurrency control, and it ensures the serializability by applying the lock to the transaction. So this one will eliminate the concurrency problem also. This will have the three different parts. The first one is when the transaction begins to execute, it requires permission for the lock. Means it has to get the permission for the locks is the first step. And in the second part, it need to maintain all the obtained locks. It has to store it. And after when a transaction releases its first lock, then only the third phase will start. So the transaction cannot demand any new locks in this phase, and instead it can release the locks which are acquired previously. Okay. So there will be a transaction in lock or unlock request in two steps, that is means a two-phase locking protocol can be in either of the steps, that is growing phase and shrinking phase. Growing phase is nothing but it will acquire obtain locks. It will not release any locks in this phase. If the lock, that is two phase, no, the first phase is growing phase and the second one is shrinking phase. In this phase there will be obtaining of locks, but it will not release the already acquired locks. Okay. In a shrinking phase, it can release the locks, but it should not obtain any new lock. Shrinking means decreasing, growing means increasing. Like that, you remember, we can acquire locks here and may not release locks. Shrinking means decreasing, so we can release the locks, but no new lock can be acquired here. So this ensures serializability, and it will also, the 2PL protocol also ensure that no deadlocks will occur in this step. And the next approach is timestamp based protocol. This ensures that any of the conflicting read and write operations which are executed at the same timestamp are serialized using logical counters. This timestamp approach we have already seen in mutual exclusion, Lamport happened before relation also, total ordering of events, which is similar. And the next approach is validation based protocol. In this, with this also we can avoid the concurrency control, and it is known as the optimistic concurrency control technique, which will avoid the concurrency in transactions. In this protocol, what is the speciality means, if the local copies of the transaction data are updated rather than the data itself. So it results in the less interference and during the execution of the transaction. So it will be performed in these phases: read phase, validation phase, and write phase. In the read phase, what will happens means the data values from the database can be read by the transaction, but the write operations or updates are only applied to local copies. they will not be applied to actual database in this phase. In the validation phase, the data will be checked to ensure that there is no violation in serializability. After that, it comes to the write phase. In this phase, the updates are applied to the database. All the updates here, no, those changes will be applied or written to the actual database if the validation is successful. These updates are not applied if the transaction is aborted or it is not validated, and the transaction will be rolled back. Okay, so this is the concurrency control and some of the techniques to control the concurrency of transactions in order to avoid conflicts between transactions. I hope you all have understood this topic. Thank you.